Recording in progress.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the December 8th, 2025 Board of Library Trustees meeting for the Reading Public Library. Do we have anybody online for public comment or any public comment to go over?
None from the inbox.
Excellent. Anyone online? Wonderful.
Me, Kelly Bacon.
Do you have any public comment?
No.
How about you, Manette?
Nope.
Nope. Silence. Okay. Excellent. Moving on to the first agenda item after that is the Community Preservation Act Study Committee update.
Yep. Oh, I think I heard that. So.
We don't have to move that, right? We'll just handle that. Great. All right, next on the.
It's done at 7:25.
I know, I'm like, let's go. Winter programming update.
Happy?
Yeah.
We didn't hear what happened with the Community Preservation Act study.
Sorry about that. We tabled it effectively till around 7:30 as one of the parties to present was not here yet.
Oh, okay, perfect. Thank you.
Okay, sorry. Should have been clear.
I'd like to just make an introduction as we start sharing. I'd like to introduce you to Olivia McElwain, who is the new head of Public Services, division head. Olivia applied for and has been appointed as the to fill some pretty big shoes, but we know she's going to do a great job. And so Olivia is here to present the Public Services Winter 2025-26 update on programming.
Congrats, Olivia.
Thank you. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, so I'm here to share the winter update, but first we'll look back at the fall. So these are some of our fall highlights. We did have goats come to the library, and that's our library associate, Dina, who was mauled by the goats, with love, of course. We had 146 people attend. We had a Mortality 101 series for adults, which was about preparing for death and dying. That included the programs on the digital afterlife, talking about death openly in a safe space, and planning for your end-of-life needs and cares. And we had 53 attendees across 3 programs for that. Our teen book club is new as of the fall. We had 14 attendees across 3 sessions, which is an amazing amount of teens for programming. We had our puzzle and game swap, which had 121 enthusiastic attendees. We had 9 tech help appointments and 9 genealogy 101 appointments. And that's just a highlight. But then we also had Halloween, and we had a trick-or-treat story time, which had 141 attendees, a Halloween concert with Mara and Matoko with 105 attendees. We had another concert that was Halloween themed with 163 attendees. We did Halloween trivia for adults, which was aimed at 20s and 30s, and that had 22 attendees. I think there were like 6 or 7 teams. We had Halloween crafts for adults with 12 attendees, and our children's costume swap also had 163 attendees. So very busy Halloween time. And these pictures are from the trivia. That really long line is our trick-or-treat line from Trick-or-Treat Storytime, and that's Martin Matoko at the bottom. And then this is upcoming. So we have, for children's and teens, we have Zen Den and Mind Over Muscle. We have this thing called the Selfie Project, which is for tweens to reflect on who they are. So we already had Zen Den, and that was self-care. And it came out of the book, The Anxious Generation, to get off the screen and get to know your adult better in a very safe and warm, welcoming place. So we had yoga, and they made body scrub. And then Mind Over Muscle, where we partnered with a karate studio, and they're going to learn self-defense. We have Baby Snowball and Mini Rave, which are 2 different dance parties. One's a rave, one's a prom for babies. We have Dungeons and Dragons for grades 3 to 5, which is a very low age for that type of program, but we have a very enthusiastic library associate who is graduating with their MLS, Lucy. They're graduating this December. They wanted to bring a very high level program down for grades 3 to 5, and they're going to make their characters and do a very short campaign. We have pizza tasting for teens, which is just what it sounds like. They're going to learn about different pizzas and taste them and vote on them. We have doodling secret messages for teens with Caribbean, which is, I wrote it down, on February 12th. It's an art workshop for teens to create small little love notes just in time for Valentine's Day with a very reputable graphic novel author. And then for February break, we have Mystical Magical Mayhem, which is based off a Benson Boone song, but it's all programming surrounding fantasy things. So we were making their own fairy doors, they're making their own dragons, they're making amulets, and they're building castles throughout the children's room. And then for adults, we have Tired of Renting or Buying, or Tired of Renting, Should You Buy? And that's with CFA Boston. It's the pros and cons of renting and buying right now. They give tips on finances, how to find the best solution for the right person. It's a great way to start the new year because it's on January 7th. We have Songs of the Revolution, which is just in time for the 250th anniversary of the American Revolution. And that one is on January 31st. We have Betrayal and Its Aftermath, Learning to Respond and Heal. Also a great one for the new year. They can think deeply about the lies they've told and the lies they've received at this program. It's with author Elaine Eisenman, and it's about her book, Betrayed, A Survivor's Guide to Lying. And then we have the Forensic Science Roadshow, which will be taught by a Massachusetts State Police crime expert. If you love like any of the NCIS shows or anything like that, you definitely want to come to that one. You're going to learn about crime scene investigations, what technology they use, what they look for, and how it can help solve cases. One of our strategic plans is to try to get 20s and 30s to the library, so millennials and Gen Z. So we have programming designed specifically for that group. We have Become a Suit Master, which is in December, and it's already full with a wait list. And our local history librarian has started doing board game nights, which is to get people off their phones and get to know their neighbors and play retro board games or new to them board games. Trivia is Calling and I Must Go is a nature-based trivia to go with our Rooted in Reading grant. We have our community clothing swap in January, which will, I think we're accepting donations January 18th until January 23rd at the reference desk. So it won't be at the front of the library like the costume swap was. And then we have a Beat the Librarians at the trivia. We have 5 librarians who have signed up for this. One of them was on Jeopardy, and you have to beat them at trivia. And then we have Hyper Focus, a PowerPoint party, which is, it's basically like a 5-minute stand-up routine. And you have 5 minutes to present on a topic that you hyper-focused on, which could range from like the American Girl dolls and their star signs, Anastasia Romanoff and how she died, the history of the rock and roller coaster at Disney World, anything like that you hyper-focus on for 5 minutes, give a history of it, and you... What do you mean, how long? You bring the PowerPoint. So you're just presenting your PowerPoint. And then these are some repeats that are coming back from the fall. We have Teen Book Group, Between Time, which is for tweens, Pokemon Club and Plant Lab, English Conversation Groups, and the Mahjong Meetups. And these are our next Friend Speaker Series events. We have the very popular The God of the Woods by Liz Moore. She's going to be the first one in December. And then 2 in February, we have Dr. Lindsay Stewart on 400 Years of Black Women's Magic and High Seas Heroines and Adventures with author Vanessa Riley. And these are our current partnerships. We have North Suburban Family Resource Network. They do 2 story times on Mondays. The Pleasant Street Center, we do a book club with them. Peter Sanborn Place. Metco just had their holiday party here, and we gave them, or we made them a photo booth so that they could use. We partner with Live All the Time on blood pressure screenings, hands-only CPR, or hands-off CPR. Yeah, yeah, hand-only CPR. And flu clinics. And we partner with the Writing Neighbors Network. And finally, we are starting to partner with the multi-language department at RPS, which is also in our strategic plan. We plan to have story times starting in March that are in Portuguese. Any questions?
That's awesome. Are you going to somehow handicap Miss Bailey so she is not?
He's not the Jeopardy person.
Oh,
It's Desiree, who's our communication specialist.
okay.
Yeah. There's 2 that have been on Jeopardy in this.
That is a pretty
Oh,
high percentage.
So he's got a little delay in the button. Jeez.
You got to add that to the Noble stats, not only that is a high stat. What are the odds?
Low? It's amazing.
So next up, because we're still waiting on the CPA, is our librarian to senior librarian for adults and teens, Sarah Kelso. She also was the project manager for our Rooted in Reading grant, which ended September 30th. And I say it's ended, but that just means the period of the grant has ended. Many of the things Sarah's going to talk about are continuing on and are now part of our core mission and services. Take it away, Sarah.
Hi, thank you. So I just want to give a recap of the awesome grant we just completed. This was funding that we received through the Mass Board of Library Commissioners through the Library Services Technology Act and the Institute of Museum and Library Services. We were awarded this grant in October of 2024. We got started on it in April of 2024, and it just concluded at the end of September with a $20,000 amount awarded to us and almost $38,000 in total in-kind funds from various sources, including the Friends of the Reading Public Library being contributed. So we formed a grant management team of staff from all departments to determine how we would accomplish our goals for the year. And this was a great project because almost everyone on staff had an opportunity to participate, from planning to purchasing, marketing, cataloging, presenting programs, planting things, shaping the collection, the library of things, and many other tasks. We also held a staff-wide training and a discussion of Robin Wall Kimmerer's The Service Berry as part of our development. So the library set out to increase access to nature and sustainability for the community while building connections with partner organizations like town committees, garden clubs, and other local organizations. We wanted to highlight the health and wellness benefits of nature and the ways in which hands-on participation can help people grow together. Sorry, we can't see the bottom, but I'll share it. We set out with 4 goals in the project. So improving community health meant offering resources and education about sustainability, healthy living, gardening, and connecting with others. We improved access to nature by adding green spaces both inside and outside the library and worked on off-site events like Arbor Day tree planting in the town forest. We built sustainability by greening our approach to things like composting, recycling, upcycling, and no-buy swaps. And we helped to create social connections by bringing people together in all ages, community programs and initiatives, from family outings to plant swaps and volunteer programs. This grant allowed us to add a variety of print and digital resources to our collections that focus on green living, sustainability, and wellness through shared goals. We engaged in new programs and partnerships to highlight new ways to engage with nature and sustainability through information like gardening workshops and partnerships that brought people together for broader common causes like beautifying town spaces. Collaborations led to impactful programming, with 85% of attendees saying they learned something new. We added green spaces to the library, of course, inside and outside, to increase access and engagement with nature while providing learning opportunities and healing spaces where people could enjoy the health and wellness benefits of nature. We also purchased over 60 print books on various topics, including gardening, sustainability, climate change, etc. We supplemented this with digital resources on our website and added fun technology for learning opportunities like our bird camera. We also expanded our library of things to include gardening-focused items like tools, seed planters, weeders, soil testers, and more. We expanded and relocated our seed library to the main floor next to many other Rooted in Reading resources, and it has been incredibly popular. And Megan, one of our resident expert gardeners and grant management team members and plant educators, has helped keep it stocked through generous donations from seed companies. Our programs and partnerships spanned all ages and a variety of topics, from a garden party highlighting local organizations doing work in sustainability to a plant swap, teen education programs, children's plant lab learning, gardening workshops, town forest tree plantings, and a host of other programs. We worked with the Town Forest Committee, DPW, Reading Neighbors Network, local scouts, and a number of other organizations throughout the year. Our green spaces got started right away at the end of October 2024 with both indoor and outdoor plantings, including a sensory garden, a native pollinator garden, raised garden beds for educational planting programs, patio furniture, and indoor plants for air quality improvement. Teens and adults generously volunteered to maintain the new spaces, and we were delighted to see these areas flourish when spring and summer came around. So what's next? Our next steps to continue progress include creating a sustainability committee of staff here at the library to identify ongoing opportunities for improvement. We will continue offering recurring topics about gardening, healthy living, and working with local experts, town committees, nonprofits, and other eco-conscious organizations. We plan to make some of these events, like the town forest tree planting, a recurring annual event. We will continue growing and maintaining green spaces through the support of volunteers in our Busy Bees program. And finally, we hope to obtain Sustainable Library Certification, which is an internationally recognized program that helps libraries pursue long-term sustainability through a variety of support tools. Any questions? Thank you.
No, it's great. Thank you.
Thank you.
These are meaty updates
Yeah.
tonight.
Yeah, I just
Race
want to
and me.
reiterate that
I
that was
know,
an,
the race and me tonight.
it was an amazing opportunity. I'll just, you have in front of you also an email that I believe all of you may have gotten. I just wanted to touch base on this before, as we continue waiting a few more minutes for the CPA. There was an email sent out Friday from Celeste Bruno on behalf of Maureen from the MBLC with the federal IMLS update. I encourage you all to read through this. She talks very much about how the courts at this point have said that the Institute of Museum and Library Services needs to be reinstated. They need to go back to work. We need to have the funding. Grants such as the one that you just heard about, which was, let me just reiterate, $20,000, which is not really a large sum of money in the big scheme of things, was able to do all that for our community. And grants like that are so important to libraries. I mean, Reading is lucky. We have a very, we have a lovely, supportive community, and we're very lucky to have that. But these grants really also impact small rural libraries, big urban libraries. So please stay on, I encourage you to stay on top of what's happening with the Institute of Museum and Library Services. It deeply impacts the Massachusetts Board of Library Commissioners and the services that they're able to offer us. We are a small state, but we have a long history of libraries and we work well together. One of the poignant pieces to this email is to say that while the MBLC and all of the libraries and communities in Massachusetts have survived and are surviving this, these tumultuous times, it's not sustainable, and it's not, and we need to have these funds, and we need to have organizations or agencies such as the IMLS in order to support these community hubs and make the work that we do really impactful. It really does help us. And so anything you can do, if you're into advocacy, if you want to speak to our representatives and senators, obviously, I believe all our Massachusetts senators and representatives are all for this. But anything you can do that you can think of, whether it's any type of campaigning or just spreading the word, honestly, most of it is spreading the word. The cuts don't necessarily impact the Reading Public Library individually per se, but it does impact us as part of a community of libraries in Massachusetts and then public libraries across the nation and everything that we work to together. So I just wanted to share this. I did send a printout. You don't have to take it, but if you're not on the trustee mailing list from the MBLC, I would encourage you to join that. There's a special one for trustees. And does anyone have any questions about the IMLS or MBLC?
Do they have any time? I know it says there's no timeline for an update. When they have more details, they'll announce it.
Yeah.
Would that be the best place to get it?
Yeah, yeah. And the MBLC site is very good. And they always will answer questions. Ally Dowds, who used to work here, is at the MBLC. And they are working very, very hard to try and restore services. Many of the services that were taken away actually specifically had to do with reaching communities that are considered marginalized, and those, for whatever reason, were cut, and now they're getting them back, so they're restarting some of them. It does create an immense amount of work for that staff, so, you know, my heart goes out to the people that work at MBLC who, it's one thing to have the rug pulled out from under you, but then when you have to put the rug back, it actually takes a lot more work sometimes to get all those things back and working, to get people to trust you again, that you will have the services that you said that you will, and provide access to content. So I don't envy them the job that they have, and they do an amazing job, particularly with building trust among the community members that they serve.
Any questions on that? Any comments online? Kelly, Lynette, you guys? Excellent,
I think actually, I have one question.
excellent.
Any ideas to the timeline or whether or not there will be an appeal? Or just, who knows?
No, I don't think they do know when they're, I think if you ask a different person, you're going to get a different answer. It depends on the level of cynicism or perhaps doom scrolling that they've gotten into. So it could be tomorrow. I think there's a lot of other things going on at the court, in the courts right now. So even if they do file the appeal, I believe this was a district court, so they'd have to go to the federal appeals court. And depending on whether they took that up, they might actually boot it right up to the Supreme Court. I don't know. So it's kind of a hazy timeline.
And I think the government has additional time, right, to file appeals generally, the First Circuit. So it was late November. Normally, most people it would be within 30 days, but I think they have additional time.
Excellent. Thank you very much. And I assume, will you share an update if you get one? I mean, we'll see it too, I suppose, but that would be.
Yeah, I
Thank you.
can absolutely do that.
Next on the agenda is an update on the Library Terrace project and the ad hoc Library Landscape Committee status.
Sure. Very quickly, it's outside. We actually have the invoice to pay. We pay a certain amount, and then we hold a certain amount back because it has to go through the winter and summer and spring. So I can't express enough the support that we got through both Activitas, who's our manager for this, our contractor for this, our designer for this, and Ryan Percival of the town engineer's office, who has really worked through that. And we've had people from DPW here checking everything out. The installation went very, very quickly. They did install the plants. They did, however, extend the warranty on the plants because they know that this is an iffy time of year. If they'd been able to get it 2 weeks earlier, they would have felt more comfortable, but they did get the plants in. One of the trees is a serviceberry tree, and so we're very excited about that. The other is native. They are all native, either true natives or cultivar natives. The seating looks really great, and they actually have this great patio area. It's, I think, surpassed any of the expectations or visual things that I had in mind, and I've been staring at those plans for a long time. But we're very, very pleased with the results. It's very accessible. The grade to get up to the space is well within the ADA requirements, and then you basically take a turn and that whole area is still also paved and smooth, so you can sit strollers or wheelchairs right there without having to move up and onto one of the seated areas. And then, of course, there's the tiered terrace seating going back. From the last meeting that we had of the ad hoc committee, I believe they would like to stay active until a launch party or opening ceremony could be held probably in the springtime. Not that there'll be that much action for them to do between now and then, but they have put a lot of time and work and effort into this project, and I think they'd like to see through it some sort of ribbon cutting where the trustees and the foundation and all the other people that have contributed to this could be present to maybe have an event, maybe some music, or just a general party and have people sit around on the seating. So that's something that they would like to do.
Is this something we need to have a vote on today, or can we do it on should we put that on the agenda for the next meeting?
Yeah, we can put it on the agenda. You don't have to vote on it today. It does not have a specific sunset date, but it might be nice to have something on the record to say that you've spoken
I
about
think
it.
we can vote now.
Okay, it's up to you.
Do we have a motion? Do we need a motion for this, or should we just vote? Do I have a motion for voting or for continuing the ad hoc library landscape committee?
Move that we continue the ad hoc library landscape committee until spring of 2026.
I have a second.
Second.
We have two people online, so it's going to be a roll call vote. Kelly.
You're on
That's an
mute.
aye from Kelly. And Monette.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Andrew.
Yes.
Andrew.
Yes.
Pat.
Yes.
And I'm a yes. The motion carries 6-0. Thank you very much. And it's beautiful. Can't believe how fast it went in. Next on the agenda, discussion and vote on the updates to the gift policy.
This was presented to you at the last meeting. There were very small, minimal changes, and it was just, let me see if I can share it.
Move to approve the changes to the gift policy as presented and discussed in our previous meetings.
Second?
Roll call vote. I will start online with you, Kelly.
Yes.
Monette.
Yes.
Andrew.
Yes.
Andrew.
Yes.
Pat.
Yes.
I'm a yes. The motion carries 6-0. Excellent. Thank you. And then we will circle back
Yes.
to the Community Preservation Act Study Committee update. Is that okay? Are you guys ready? Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks for giving us this time. I think you already said that our full footing is
Actually, could you just make sure when you're speaking into a microphone? That's okay.
Our goal was to meet with any and all committee that we felt would benefit from Community Preservation Act funding.
So my name's Martha Moore. I am the Conservation Commission member that's on the CPA Study Committee, and Sarah is representing the Historical Committee? Commission. Right. You can go to the next slide. So the CPA Act was passed in the very early 2000s, and it provides money for open space preservation, which is both conservation and recreation, and historical preservation and affordable housing. And the state contributes a percentage match that varies each year because that state percentage comes from the fees that the real estate transactions pay. So depending on how many real estate transactions there are, there's a bigger or smaller pool to be divided among the towns.
Registry of Deeds.
Yes, at the Registry of Deeds. Yeah. Why don't you scooch in so you can talk too? Okay. And so far, 201 of the Massachusetts towns have passed this to have a CPA in their town. And Reading has not yet adopted it. We tried back in about 2003, and it was competing with the high school renovation for funding. And the high school renovation passed, and CPA just barely didn't pass. And this is the first time we will be trying again if all goes well.
Was it by 10 votes or something?
Oh, it
like
was a
that?
very small,
Yeah.
very small difference. Okay, next slide.
Okay, our first meeting was in May of 2024. I'm the historical, like Margaret said, I'm the historical person. We have people from all of these different committees here, including the Housing Committee and the Finance Committee. And I think it's been really informative for all of us. I really didn't know anything about the low-income housing situation, and so I really appreciate learning all of that. So we were tasked to study the merits of the CPA, and we've had many people come and speak to us from other cities and towns that have the CPA and how it's been going for them. And we've had the person from the Community Preservation Commission, is that what it is? Coalition. I can't remember his name, but he came and talked to us at length. He gave us a lot of really good information. And so ultimately, our task is to recommend to the select board whether or not we believe that the town meeting, that the question of if we should put CPA on the ballot goes to town meeting. So,
Next slide. So CPA provides benefits for all of these various things, open space, trails, and invasive species control, recreation. If we had had CPA, those Birch Meadow Phase 1 and Phase 2 could have been paid for through CPA. Affordable housing can be paid for through CPA, and historic preservation, which is where the library comes in, because I believe you are a historic building. So you could use CPA funds for projects at the library. And
instance,
perhaps
yeah.
your thing you just presented about could have been paid for with open space money. And the money from the CPA can be Reading's piece that goes to match other grants that we might be able to apply for. Often the grant says if you put in so much, the grant will provide so much. And that piece that Reading contributes could come from CPA.
I just wanted to add to that, that one of the things that I didn't know about the Community Preservation Act prior is the leverage portion. And it's really important that people understand that. And in all the categories, if a town comes up with Community Preservation Act funds, they can, in many cases, be leveraged by other state and federal programs for housing, for recreation, and for historical. So it's a really good tool. We're often, and in many cases, the CPA money is smaller. It's smaller than what is matched. So it's quite a popular tool that other towns and cities use.
Next slide. We considered a range of prices for what we would put as the surcharge on the property tax to pay for this CPA vote. When we vote, we can vote for any range of prices up to 3%. And we immediately ruled out the upper end of that, though many towns have passed 3%, but we looked at 1.5, 1, and 0.5, and at our most recent meeting, we voted that we thought 1 made the most sense. And some background about that is that over the past 10 years, on average, the town has spent $1 million on what would have been CPA eligible projects each year. And 1% would raise about $1 million. And this shows sort of the math of how it works. If the local surcharges collected were $790,000 and the state match goes in there, that brings that $790,000 up to about $1 million. So it gets us different year, different amount, but about $200,000 of state money before you even make those matching grants that you can use that money toward. So we've been spending money out of our regular budget that we could have been spending with CPA money and getting $200,000 a year from the state. And the next one is, what would it cost a homeowner? And the average homeowner, if we do this 1% surcharge, would be paying about $100 a year extra, because the average homeowner pays taxes around $10,000, $11,000. There are some exemptions that we put in. The first $100,000 of your house value gets exempted. There are senior and low income exemptions for low and moderate income seniors, and low income residents would not pay this surcharge at all. And I think we also voted that the commercial real estate would not pay this surcharge. So it would only be surcharged to residents. And we just voted that at our last meeting. And I think that's our last slide.
Well, this is just
Oh, the time frame.
the time frame, which is kind of important because next year at this time, we'll find out if this is going to be on the ballot or not. So we have a few more steps to go through. We give our report. We're a little behind on that. We're going to give our report very soon to the select board. And then in April, town meeting will vote on whether to put it on the next ballot in November.
Yeah, so by this time next year, we'll know whether it passed.
Yeah. Exciting.
Yeah.
And one more thing I just wanted to say, because I thought it was on the slide, is that when the funds come in, if we did get $1 million, 10% of the funds go into each of the accounts, no matter what. And then the other 70%, the CPA committee, which is formed of people that the town would, vet for different areas. People can be on the committee and work with the town. The other 70% is decided through applications, and applications can come from the town, they can come from committees, and they can also come from residents. For instance, I couldn't help but think of the splash pad. That was such a big issue last year when we had the Reading open house here. I think somebody had a petition going around wanting a splash pad. So it's like, for instance, a splash pad could be something that somebody would ask the CPA project to fund. And so that 70% is the variable amount. You could put more of it towards affordable housing some years, you could put more of it towards something else, but there'll be this baseline of 10% that goes to those three categories that will make an enormous difference in being able to keep up with the quality of the outdoor recreation services, the tennis courts, the pickleball courts, and new things we could have been used towards Birch Meadow. In historical, it could have been used to re-roof the Parker Middle School, which Parker Middle School is in Reading's historic inventory, just like this building is in the historic inventory. And what's the third piece? And affordable housing, which I think we all feel like we need to do so much more for affordable housing. And in this way, I don't think the Affordable Housing Trust has had any major funding additions in a long time. And with the CPA Act, there would be a steady amount of funding coming in to give them more, the power to do more. And in many communities during COVID, as I was researching, CPA funds were used to help out with low-income renters. So that was kind of an interesting thing. And then finally, I'll say that if you're on Facebook, the Community Preservation Coalition has a Facebook page, and pretty much every week they'll update you with the newest CPA projects in Massachusetts. They also have a website. What is it again, Margaret? I always say
CPC.
CPC.org. Is that what it is?
Community Preservation Coalition.
Yeah, their website has all of the data since the inception of the Community Preservation Act, and for every town, including when every town voted it in, what were the percentages of yes and no? What did they decide to do? And the percentage can be changed, but it can't be changed for 5 years. It has to be changed by a town meeting vote. I mean, the website is very thorough.
And just so you know, the committee that will be formed in April, if this passes, presents possible projects that they recommend to town meeting, and ultimately town meeting votes on whether or not to fund those projects. So somebody wants a splash pad, they come to the committee recommends it to town meeting ultimately decides whether they can build their splash pad or not. So if you have any questions, I think we have about 2 minutes left in our 15 minutes we were allotted.
So I have a question. I'm just curious, when you talk about the committee reviewing the applications, is it the current committee stays on? Are there term limits on the committee? How does that work?
The committee that reviews the applications has to have somebody from each of the various categories, somebody from conservation, somebody from housing, somebody from historical. I think it has to have a select board member. And those members get appointed, and I don't know if there are term limits on that, but there are definitely categories that have to be represented.
So it's not, as of right now, it's not something that this committee is planning to segue into, but who knows what will happen? We don't know that, and that doesn't get decided until after the town approves that they want to do the CPA, then that committee gets formed.
Oh, okay. Thank you for explaining.
Can I just add really quickly, I did make up this quick little cheat sheet from the Community Preservation Coalition website of specific ways that the library could benefit from the funds, such as, I mean, we know you've already done a lot of repairs on this beautiful building, the outdoor gardening project, working on ADA accessibility, which I think you already have that, but also you can do, and if you needed to do any studies about the historical nature of the building, well, I would just say you can read all this, but I'll just read this last bit that says it's a powerful tool supporting historic preservation, facility rehabilitation, land acquisition, outdoor community spaces, preservation-related studies, helps to safeguard the building, increase community value, reduce strain on the local budget, and aligning with the trustees' mission to steward the library as a community resource. So our, I guess, we sort of end with saying we hope that you would vote to bring this to town meeting for them to vote on.
Just your support for the select board to push this along. That's what we're asking for from you. Any other questions or comments?
Yeah, a quick question, and I know I've asked this at a different presentation. I can't remember the match, which is obviously a big factor of this. You have two examples up there from 21 and 24. They're obviously different. Was the 21 higher than normal because of like the COVID spending, or what is like the state? Is there any averages?
It looks to me like in the last 10 years, it's been somewhere around 20 to 25 usually. So that 39% was higher than many,
But that
but it
21 was-
had been 100% when they started out because there were very few towns and a big pool of money. So the early adopters got 100% matches. And, you know, I think we can expect more in the 20 to 25% range. But that's still a good chunk of money.
It is. And I just want to add to the annual report from the CPA Coalition says that they are investigating new avenues to generate funding for the program, and also for any of the towns that are 3%, they get a second round of funding. So it's just something interesting. I don't think we'd ever get 3% here in Reading.
Yeah, the ones that get the second round of funding also have to have a higher need.
Yeah.
So there's a small town in Western Massachusetts that just last year adopted CPA at 3% because they would get that extra round of funding and it would make a big difference for them. But we were looking at the numbers and didn't expect that Reading would qualify for the extra round of funding. So it was not worth risking
Yeah.
not having it pass by trying to bite too big a bite out of the apple. So that's where we settled on the 1%. Other questions?
Do you remember what the percentage was that we asked for in the first time in 2004? Was it 1%?
I think so. Might have been 1.5.
1.5.
Yeah, it was not 3.
And the other part of that election was that the CPA question was on the back side of the ballot all by itself. And there was some question as to whether people knew to flip it over and vote. Just had to share that because I think that might have been my case. So anyway.
Okay. Anything else you want from us?
Thank
Thank
you
you
so much.
very much for your time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it. Next item on the agenda is the financial report.
I'm going to take a big, deep breath now. I'm presenting to you what I will be presenting to the select board tomorrow night, which then eventually goes to the finance committee. Just very briefly, something came through last Thursday and we were going to change the whole budget. So I changed a bunch of numbers and I gave Megan an update and then I heard today again at 4 o'clock, that was 4 o'clock. Like last Thursday, I heard there was a change. And then today at 4 o'clock, I heard, never mind, ignore that change, go back to what you originally had. So what you have to is what should have been, what was in your packet. We were actually prepared to hand out something completely different. But Sharon, the town accountant, and various other department heads and Matt, and we've all worked together. And we're very pleased to be able to offer this budget recommendation of $2,320,000, which is a 2.7% increase. We were really striving for 2.5 or less, but 80% of our budget are salaries. So with the 3%, with the step plus 1.25% COLA, that brings our salary increase to 2.9%. So we basically have to have no expense budget at all. So very briefly, this budget, I believe, is for 6.75 million in free cash. That is more than what the town is generally comfortable with. So we do expect to have an override at some point in the very soon. The non-union salaries will be a step plus 1.25% COLA. This will bring the library-wide salaries to 2.9%. We have that divided up to administration, collection services, and public services. They are all sort of on average changing about the same. A lot of what you see has to do with basically where people are in their steps and then some staffing changes that we're having. The expense, which is the trickier thing, and just what I want to point out to you, is that we fully expend our expenses every year, at least 23, 24, and 25. So we use every penny. And as you know, I also work very hard we work very hard to wisely steward our gifts and trusts and state aid. We supplement that where we can. We have to maintain our library materials requirement, so that will go up by 2.6%. And software licenses and support is going up 7.4%. And it is to address some general vendor pricing. As you know, software, things like that go up. They can go up not very much, and then all of a sudden they can jump. There are also a couple licenses that we renew every 3 years, and next year will be one of the 3 years that we need to renew certain licensing that goes per computer for our public computers. So in order to keep that number below 2% to 1.8, I am recommending cutting our technology supplies. Those are the actual physical computers that we rotate in and out. Our general supplies coming down a little bit. Our professional development, which, for a year or two, we can probably afford to cut in that before we need to see that rebound a little bit. And then library programs, as you know, we're very lucky to have the Friends of the Reading Public Library supplement our programming, or actually in this case, we're supplementing that programming. So it's a small budget line, but something that we use for community projects and large community activities that aren't necessarily built into the children's programming line or the teen programming line that the Friends support. By doing that, we've been able to keep that to 1.8%. If we weren't in this current financial tight spot, I think an average 3% increase in your expense budget would be very typical. And that would represent what I would consider full funding. This is definitely a cut in funding to provide pretty much level services with some limitations. it's only a $7,500 difference in the long scheme of, in the big scheme of things. So I think we can figure out how to cover $7,500 next year. I'd like to have the $7,500 back. If we can get an override, I think we'd want to regain our expense budget back to where it should be, but it would be very small money. And like I said, I think we can, with very minimal disruption, continue to offer the services we have with these particular cuts. And that's all I have.
Just quick question. Something like a library program, what does $500 mean in terms of a program? Is that cutting 1, 5, 10? I have no idea.
It's in the larger programs, it's things that I can think of right off the top of my head that cost $500 is what we've done in the past is we've had an ASL interpreter for a community program. That's $500. It might be the difference between having one vendor at a, instead of having 3 speakers, we have, 1 speaker or something like that. So it's scaling down some of the things that make some of our programs very special, but it doesn't eliminate them.
Thank you.
Well, the presentation materials for the board packet tomorrow, I think are very good, the data points. I always like when you lay out those data points, so I just want to comment on that.
Yeah.
And then a practical question, are we noticed for tomorrow night? And if not,
You're not noticed for
I was
tomorrow.
thinking of going, is anyone else, just to make sure we don't run into quorum issues?
As long as you have less than 4, you're good. Okay. If you see 4 of you, then someone needs to leave the room. And it's been, if you just have a few hours to spare, you can go back and watch last week's presentation. And the questions will all be, is there any way you can squeeze out any more money? And obviously you can always squeeze out money, but then it results in the loss of services or loss of being able to do things. And in general, I think we're pretty conservative with most of the, especially the, obviously we have gift funds or we have someone like the foundation who's able to pay for a large capital project. And we have not asked for any capital funds since this building was renovated. Usually $10,000 every year is put into the capital plan for the library, but I had requested that the town accountant take that out until further notice because we are able to supplement because we have our support groups. Other departments don't have the support, they don't have a PTO for the fire department paying for a new fire truck. So we are fortunate to have that. And so we don't ask for much. We're 1.6% of the total budget and I think we take very good care of the town's, the municipal operations budget. But in this case, I feel like reducing for lack of a better word, cutting our expense budget by $7,500 and bringing our budget down to 2.7% is reasonable and something we can do for FY27.
Don't need to tell you this, obviously, but I think continuing to educate people on what's required for like the library materials and state certification, that there's limits, that what can be done and that can't be paid for with outside sources. I just think it's important to remind people of that because I don't think they would appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much. What time is the meeting, by the way?
Anything else on the FY27 budget?
Does anybody have any questions? Anyone? Kelly, on that? No?
Okay. FY26, we're doing really well. As you know, we've had some staffing changes. I'll get into that in a little bit. And we had a few gifts in November, so that finishes out the financial report. As for the director's report, our usual statistics are there. I will say I'm very pleased we still continue to see an increase in our volunteer hours. volunteers are really important to us, but we also don't want to hide the value of what we do. So we don't want to have, nor can we legally have volunteers do things that paid people should do. But a lot of the volunteer work that we're doing now are also with teens to help them get leadership hours. They're relaunching the book, is it called Book Buddies, Reading Buddies, Book Buddies, where a young adult will read with a younger child, and it's really good at reinforcing the fun of reading. So we try to come up with volunteer programs where people who are helping, Albert has some volunteers that work with him in the Office of Equity, and they are very enthusiastic and they really want to, help. He has a student volunteer. He has someone who helps out with some of his graphic design and publication and social media. So we try to make that very engaging for the volunteers that we have. After COVID, during COVID, we had no volunteers. So it's a program we'd like to build up again, but also make sure that it's meaningful to the volunteer, not just busy work. So I'm just very pleased to see that continuing to grow. Let's see here. Every once in a while, I like to throw in the breadth of the folks that we work with. Olivia mentioned some of the partnerships we have. And I want to be clear, there are groups that we support, and there are groups that we sponsor, and then there are groups with whom we partner. Those are three very distinct ways that we can be involved with the community. The sport might just be like, yay, go to the such and such thing. We're not really involved with it, but it sounds good. Or we advertise for it, or we post somebody's flyer. Sponsorship might be letting a nonprofit that's aligned with our core values have the room for free for a certain number of times. And then a partnership is something where we really work with the group. We have a seat at the table. We talk about what types of programs and what types of content will be there. And some of the partners we worked with just in November is the Chabad of Wakefield, Killam Elementary School, Mystic Valley Elder Services, the Northeast Arc Resource Group, the Parker Middle School, Peter Sanborn Place, Pleasant Street Center, Reading Garden Club, Reading Health Department, and the RPS multi-language team, which Olivia's mentioned several of those, and I didn't even list all of them. So one of the things that's great about those types of partnerships, including Reading Neighbors Network, and a couple of the other ones that we work with, the children's one that we just, the Children's Cabinet through the schools, is that they're really collaborative, and it's not about one particular group owning or taking center stage. It's really about a whole bunch of people working together. One of the biggest things I've learned from this, and I think a lot of our staff have done, is that you realize you don't have to run the whole program alone, and that you don't have to be the expert on something that you're not the expert in, but somebody comes to you and says, oh, there's this health thing. And you're like, we have a public health department. We have the Reading Coalition for Prevention and Support. Let's get all three of those groups in the room, and we can talk about resources, and we can talk about clinical help, and we can talk about flu clinics or something. We can put them all together and all those people in the same room, and we're not each reinventing the wheel. So I do like to highlight the partnerships particularly that we have. Moving on to personnel. As you know, we've had quite a few changes. Elizabeth left in October, and we said goodbye to Andrea last month. We have hired Olivia to be our new Public Services Division Head. We will have an internal posting to see if any of our we have internal candidates to head up the children's team. We also have a retirement coming up at the end of December, which is Louise Hetherington, who's our meeting room coordinator. We have posted that position. We already have 7 applications for that position in less than a week. So we're very excited about that. So we have a lot of transitions. And of course, Susan Beauregard is retiring in January. So then we'll be posting for her position at the beginning of the year. So we have a very busy hiring season in front of us. And Rebecca Bailey will have been here for 8 years. You may not see Rebecca very much. She works a couple mornings a week, and she works Wednesday evenings. So, but she's been here for 8 years and she's writing resident. She was on Jeopardy, among other, in addition to Desiree. And so if you see her, say happy anniversary. I will also note that of the people who left, Elizabeth was only with us for about 2 years, but Andrea was here for 14 years. Louise has been with us for 16 years, and Susan will have been with us for 32 years. So much of our transition, many of our transitions are people who have given over a decade of their careers to working here. So I don't feel like it's a, mass rats leaving a sinking ship. I really feel it's people moving on to better, particularly retirement, more relaxing jobs. And that's all I have for the director's report.
Thank you very much. Does anyone have any questions or comments? Guys online? Nope. Okay, moving on, I think is the approval of meeting minutes from last month's meeting. It is approval of the November 12th, 2025 meeting minutes. Do you have any questions, comments, or a motion?
I move to approve the meeting minutes from November 12th.
Do I have a second?
Second?
Roll call vote. I think everyone was here last time, right? Anybody have to abstain? Kelly? Monette?
Yes.
Andrew?
Yes.
Andrew?
Yes.
Pat?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. The motion carries 6-0. Next, we have future agenda items, January, the community outreach engagement update. I think you mentioned that last month, Michelle, right? Somebody did. Update on spending, February technology plan update, and the patron self-service report. Do we have anything else to add to that? No, because we voted on the ad hoc library committee, so I think we're good. Anything else? Anybody questions, comments, or I guess a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn?
Second? Somebody? Anyone?
Second.
Roll call vote. Kelly?
Yes.
Monette?
Yes.
Andrew?
Yep.
Andrew?
Yes.
Pat?
Yes.
And I am a yes. We are officially adjourned at 8:02.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you.